Hey guys, it's Jackson Fulcher here, and yes, today is the top 15 video I've been talking to you guys about, and it is the top 15 comic book movies. These are the 15 comic book movies that I really like, and you might be wondering, Jackson, why is it a top 15? We'll get to that later, but let's just kick it off. Let's do it. Let's do it. We've been waiting for so long. Let's do it. Let me get the list. Let's do it. Number 15 is actually a sequel. This movie was the sequel to a really great superhero movie that actually kind of kicked it off for superhero movies, that people actually said, wow, I can't believe that was actually good and not unintentionally hilarious. And that would be Superman 2. This movie, honestly, a lot of people will debate whether the first Superman movie is better than the second one. I think it is because General Zod. Stakes are kind of upped in this movie with General Zod, and also the fact that Superman kind of gives away his powers so he can be with Lois Lane because she found out he's Superman. I honestly just thought this movie was way better, besides that weird S thing that he tore off his chest and flung at one of the villains, which was kind of odd. And you want to know something interesting? Spoilers, in this movie, Superman killed Zod, which everyone got so upset about in Man of Steel. So shut up! Christopher Reeve was a really great Superman. He really is. I mean, Henry Cavill is fine as Superman. He's really good, but Christopher Reeve, magnificent. He does a great Superman. Even in Superman 3 and 4, which will probably be on the worst comic book films list, he actually really nailed the performance because he's good as Superman. He's really good. Even the guy who played General Zod and his two cronies that I'm forgetting right now, sorry, they were also really good. And there's this one scene where they're like in this weird small town and like the military's coming in and they're like trying to take him down. Really great scene. At number 14 is not the first movie on this list. There's actually one more. Yes, it is a Marvel movie, but it's a specific kind of Marvel movie that is owned by Fox. And clearly it's not the Fantastic Four movies. This is X-Men First Class. I was actually really surprised that I liked this movie as much as I did, because at the time I was like, this doesn't look that good. The posters are kind of odd, the trailer's kind of meh. What happened here? But then I saw the movie and oh my god. Not only does it contain one of the best cameos not made by Stan Lee ever, but it is actually a really great X-Men movie. I was very surprised at how well handled this movie was, and it's directed by Matthew Vaughn, who directed Kick-Ass and Kingsman, two movies that you will be hearing about again later on. Matthew Vaughn really handled this movie very well, and I honestly was just shocked, once again saying it again, of how amazing this movie was. The cast did a fantastic job as playing these characters that you already know, like Mystique or Beast or Professor Xavier or Magneto and all these guys. They did a fantastic job, especially Michael Fassbender, who is actually one of my favorite actors. And Kevin Bacon's in this movie! Even though I think there's one other X-Men movie that I think is better, I still really like First Class. And number 13 is another sequel, and it's a part of a trilogy that was good, great, and then and you probably know what it is. And this movie kind of actually is like Superman 2 in a way, and I'll explain that. It's SpiderMan 2, where Peter Parker actually starts to lose his powers like Superman did, except Superman, like, gave it away, like, I don't need this anymore, take it, where Spider-Man is just like, what the heck, and then it's gone for a bit. Like, it's kind of similar. And Dr. Octopus is actually really good. The 4 mechanical arms thing, that is actually really threatening. Like, would you, if you were Spider-Man and you saw Doc Ock and like 4 arms like ready to pounce at you, would you seriously try to swing in? Would you? I mean, you'd probably try to web shoot him really stuck and then come in and kick Doc Ock and then, actually, you know what? You'd be fine. Never mind. Doc Ock is actually a really good villain with a good character, actually, because something happens to him early on. Like, this whole Dr. Octopus thing is like his idea. It's his project for science, and it goes wrong, especially when something else happens to him, like influences his character a bit. Of course, more progression with Harry Osborn that was completely destroyed in Spider-Man 3 was actually good. Like, if you saw the first Spider-Man movie, you know that the Green Goblin, who Harry's father was, got killed, and he's like hating Spider-Man, like, oh my god, you kill my dad, if I find you, I will kill you. And then, of course, learning that it's Peter, like, what? And then carrying it into Spider-Man 3, and like I said before, completely destroyed. What were you thinking, Sony? Spider-Man 3 was terrible. But that train sequence also was really good also. I mean, yeah, Spider-Man has like a poop face, like, but that sequence was really amazing. Like, if Spider-Man swinging around is cool. You want to be Spider-Man swinging through New York, falling from a great height, and then catching yourself by your own web, and it's really great. Number 12 is the movie that kind of kicked off everyone currently really digging Marvel movies, and that would be Iron Man. When I saw this movie, I wasn't aware of everyone saying, this movie really doesn't look good. Why is Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man? What's going on here? I wasn't really looking into the news at that point and, you know, reviews and stuff. But then I saw it and I was like completely like, and of course seeing it again, I learn even more why I love it, because it really is the one that kicked it off. This movie is not only the best Iron Man movie, but one of the best Marvel Cinematic Universe movies that has to do with the Avengers. I mean, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Guardians, and Avengers, I think, are better than Iron Man, and maybe Age of Ultron. 2 months. 2 months! This was my favorite solo movie for a while until Winter Soldier, but still. Robert Downey Jr. just did a fantastic job with the Iron Man character, and so good. And of course, seeing the Iron Man suit fly around, you see it like shoot like rockets. That's cool! And I thought Terrence Howard did a good job as Colonel Rhodes. I don't know why they got rid of him for Don Cheadle. I'm not saying Don Cheadle's bad, I'm just saying I don't understand why they did that. Maybe scheduling conflicts, or maybe not enough pay. I don't know. It's actually kind of funny because Terrence Howard in the first Iron Man movie looked at like the silver Iron Man suit that Tony built before the red and gold, and he looked at it and he said, "Next time, baby." And then in Iron Man 2, yeah, his character did wear it, but it wasn't him, it was Don Cheadle. Ooh. Overall, this really did change the way a lot of people looked at superhero films, and that is amazing. That's why it's on the list. Moving on. Number 11, I told you you'd hear about it later, and here it is. Kick-Ass. Matthew Vaughn makes superhero movies very well. Kick-Ass, even though it's not like the most serious comic book movie like The Dark Knight or something, Kick-Ass is still really fun. It's not overly serious and it's not overly corny. It's a really great blend of both. And of course it has great comedy also. And Nicolas Cage is in this movie. Nicolas Cage. Yeah, and Chloe Grace Moretz, who was very young at the time, saying like really nasty words. I'm sure a lot of people got offended for some reason, even though it's a fictional character, and clearly they don't want kids saying that in real life because it's rated R, and kids usually won't be seeing rated R movies unless you're a bad parent and you somehow don't notice that they did watch it, or you let them sneak in. I'm just saying, parents, sometimes you blame movies when really you should be blaming yourself for actually letting them see it if you were gonna be so weird about it. I mean, Overall, Kick-Ass is just a really great movie, and it had a really great sequel also, and I know a lot of people really hate it. I don't know why. It's like the first movie. The shaky cam is in Kick-Ass 2, which sometimes can be a bit distracting, but it was still good. And number 10 is the other Matthew Vaughn movie, Kingsman: The Secret Service. I wasn't expecting to put this movie on the list, but holy cow, this movie, it is one of the most awesome action movies I have ever seen. Like, there's one scene, I mentioned it in my review for Kingsman, I won't spoil it, but when you see it, it's like near the end, like right before the end, there's one scene of just amazingness. I'm not talking about like the last shot of the movie before the post-credit scene, I'm talking about the one that happens kind of before, like the epic last fight. Or you see it, you'll know that's what he was talking about. Oh my god. And the church scene, Colin Firth lit a man's face on fire and then took an axe and chopped a man in half. Go see Kingsman, not 50 Shades of Grey. At number 9 is a movie from one of my favorite directors, Edgar Wright, who made the Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End, which are really great movies. And this movie, which I think is criminally underrated, especially with box office, because it has all the feels of a comic book / video game movie. And this is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. This movie, the editing is so terrific. Like, if you watch the movie and you see the editing, you're like, oh yeah, that's really good. It looks like a video game, it looks like a comic book, like, on the screen, and Edgar Wright did a fantastic job. Oh my god. And Michael Cera actually is really good as Scott Pilgrim. Yeah, he's kind of like the timid guy, like really timid voice and stuff, but he's actually really good in this movie. And the 7 evil X's are also really good, especially Chris Evans, who, yeah, Captain America is one of the evil X's. Ooh, yeah. And the action scenes also in the movie were really good, like amazing action scenes that I wasn't expecting to be so cool. Like, I was like, is an action scene about to happen? And then it did. I was like, oh, here we go. Then boom, like blew away my expectations for that scene. Ooh, great job, Edgar Wright. I'm so disappointed you're not making Ant-Man anymore. And lastly, another thing I liked about the movie was Anna Kendrick's in it. Anna Kendrick's in it. Anna Kendrick's in it. Yeah. At number 8 is the other X-Men movie I was talking about that actually came out last year, where I was also surprised by how good it was because the director of the first 2 X-Men movies came back, and after directing Superman Returns and Jack the Giant Slayer, I wasn't really expecting it to be as great as those first 2 movies, or First Class, but it was. Days of Future Past. This movie was awesome! Hugh Jackman returned as Wolverine. He also returned as Wolverine in that. You know what it is? I'm looking at the little camera flap here and I'm trying to direct my finger, which is weird to say, actually. And then you got to see other returning cast members of the X-Men, even if it was just for a short minute. It was really cool to see them back together again. Yay. And of course you get to see the 4 cast members from X-Men First Class. Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy, Jennifer Lawrence, Nicholas Hoult. They're back in this movie as well. And they blended really well, especially with the older cast as well. In the Sentinel scenes, like there's like a scene at the beginning, really good, and then the Sentinel showing up later, really cool also. And there's this one character who can like shoot portals, like the game Portal that I've never played, and you can like see through the portals actually like what it's showing up at. It's so cool! Like, imagine Portal here, and then Portal there, and you can like see like right there through here, and it's so cool! Which I guess is like Portal. I never played it. I guess I should maybe. Nah. Maybe someday. Over the rainbow. Even though the villain wasn't as strong as maybe you wanted him to be, this is still a really great X-Men movie, and I can't wait for X-Men Apocalypse, and this movie is so good. If you haven't seen X-Men Days of Future Past yet, go see it. At number 7 is a movie that came out in 2005 that a lot of people really liked, and it's one of the movies where if you look at the comic strips, and then you look at some shots of the movie, they're almost exactly identical, like 300. This is Sin City. When I first saw this movie, I was surprised to learn that it was a comic book movie, and then to learn then figuring out that this movie was so darker and grittier than I thought, and it was awesome. Like, they handled it really well. Robert Rodriguez directed this movie, the guy who made 2 Machete movies and Spy Kids movies. Cast was great. Bruce Willis, Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke is Marv! Oh, Marv is so awesome! All the stories fit in really well together, and Elijah Wood is one of the creepiest characters I think I've ever seen in a comic book movie. Like, straight up. Sin City is just a really well-directed movie, and it took some turns that I actually wasn't expecting to happen because I had never seen a comic book movie like that. And Sin City just might be one of my favorite comic book movies. Why isn't this higher, actually, as I think about it? Let me look at the list again. Oh yeah, that's why. Whoops. Never mind, Sin City, you stay at number 7. Moving on. Alright guys, number 6 is a movie that came out in 2014 also, and this became my favorite solo Marvel movie, like, over the Iron Man movie, and it actually made me care more about a character that I didn't give a crap about. Captain America, the Winter Soldier. First off, the Russo brothers, who are known for comedy, like, made a really great Cap movie, and they took like the political thriller vibe to it while also being really action-packed and awesome. The Winter Soldier is also really good. Sebastian Stan, who is Bucky, in case you didn't know, did a fantastic job. I mean, I can't wait to see his character kind of come back in the other Avengers type movies. He is coming back, right? Sebastian Stan? Yeah, he's going to be in Civil War, right? Right? He's not? Not confirmed? Is he confirmed? I don't know. And Chris Evans, of course, does a great job as Captain America. Like, Chris Evans nails Captain America. Like, literally, he nails him. He's great. And Falcon also, Anthony Mackie, does a great job as Falcon. And Scarlett Johansson is really hot in leather. And, of course, Samuel L. Jackson. You can't forget Samuel L. Jackson, because he's awesome. Like, Samuel L. Jackson is, like, the only person that could have played Nick Fury. After seeing Nick Fury being played by Samuel L. Jackson, there is no way I could have pictured him as anybody else. Like, literally. No one. No one. And it could have been my favorite Marvel movie of the year if it wasn't for my number 5. And you already know what it is, because if you haven't seen my top 10 best of the year, which has been drastically changed after I've seen a couple more movies, my favorite film of 2014 was Guardians of the Galaxy, and that is number 5. Guardians of the Galaxy was almost as good as the Avengers, and a really great team-up movie, especially with Rocket Raccoon. Yes. Yeah. Chris Pratt had one heck of a year, and Star-Lord, awesome. That first scene of Chris Pratt, like, dancing to that one song. It's like holding the space rat, pretending it's like a microphone and dancing around while trying to get the orb, but not doing that yet. He had to dance first. Really funny also. James Gunn, really fantastic job. Really, I applaud you, sir. He's not watching, clearly, but fantastic. Great job. Zoe Saldana was good. Dave Bautista, who I didn't expect to be as good, was really good. And Groot, Vin Diesel, who only said 3 or 4 words. Oh, yeah. I guess this movie makes me hooked on a feeling. Even though the villain was just kind of meh, I still think that this movie really nailed the heroes really well, and give us a really fantastic Marvel movie. But of course, my favorite Marvel movie so far is my number 4, The Avengers. I was really, like, when I was going to see The Avengers, like, opening day, I was hearing a couple days before everyone praising it, like, oh my god, this is the best movie of the decade, and I was like, that can't be. Can it? Then I saw it, mind blown. This movie was awesome! Not only did Joss Whedon handle the characters really well, having them blend nicely together, especially with Hawkeye and Black Widow, who haven't had their own solo movies, which is good because I wouldn't want to watch a 2-hour movie of a guy shooting some arrows. They all fit in well together. They all had good chemistry. When you see Iron Man and Captain America butt heads, you can kind of see some Civil War happening there, especially since Civil War was announced, so it's happening. And Loki, the return of Loki. He was really good in Thor. And then Avengers, fantastic. He is a great Loki has the charm, the comedy. He's a really... And he's got the tricks also. He's the best Marvel villain. Especially after we got the Mandarin. And that elf guy that was just kind of meh. And Ronan, who was kind of meh. The only good Marvel villain was like the Winter Soldier. You might want to redo some of their heroes there. Like Ultron. Maybe you should take some notes from Ultron and Loki and the Winter Soldier. Yeah, that is my favorite Marvel movie. Avengers Age of Ultron could top that entirely. It could be freaking Ant-Man. It might even be Civil War. I don't know. I don't know. I can't wait till Age of Ultron so I can find out. It's gonna be so good. It's and of course that last epic battle in New York. Like, there's one shot where like Iron Man's flying around and you get to see all the team members actually like contributing, seeing what they're doing, and that was a really good shot. You see Iron Man flying, you see Scarlett Johansson on that like alien bike thingy, and Hawkeye shooting some arrows, the Hulk and Thor like bashing up this floaty giant monster Chitauri thingy, and Chris Evans, like when Iron Man like starts flying down and comes down to ground and shoots the pulsars on Cap's shield and it deflects. It was so cool! This movie is amazing. I love The Avengers. That's why it's number 4. Alright guys, it's time for the explanation. This is why it's a top 15 list, because number 3 to 1 is all a part of a trilogy. And you probably already know what it is. And instead of cheating like some YouTubers that made the list and said, well, I'm just gonna put them at number 1 anyways, like put them all together in like one slot, I decided I'll make it a top 15 and give them some extra comic book movies that I like while giving 3 to 1. It's the Dark Knight Trilogy. This is, like, really good. This Batman series was really, really good. You're probably wondering my order. Number 3 is Batman Begins. Number 2 is The Dark Knight Rises. And number 1, The Dark Knight. All of these movies just were really good. Christopher Nolan did a fantastic job here. I mean, really, a lot of people complain about The Dark Knight Rises having some plot holes. I can understand why, but I think there's some explanations to that. Like, how did Bruce Wayne get back into Gotham City? Well, he is a really, really rich man. I think he might have some sort of connection. And in Batman Begins, Scarecrow was... I wanted to see more of him. He wasn't there a lot. That would be my only problem with Batman Begins. The best villain out of that entire trilogy, though, was the Joker. And it's really kind of sad because he won an Oscar for it, and a lot of people were complaining before they even saw the movie, like, oh man, he's not going to be good. I know he died, but he's not going to be good. And then he was good, and people were like, oh, he was good. Whoops. And I just said that he wasn't going to be good even when he died. Whoops. Better give him an Oscar. And Jared Leto, I wish you luck with the Joker in Suicide Squad, but I'm sorry, there's just no way you're gonna be able to top what Ledger did. Like, really. There's no way. Sorry, but it's true. And Christian Bale, a lot of people complain about the Batman voice, but I like it. I like it. He's disguising his voice. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but I like it. I use the voice all the time. It's actually making my throat kind of hurt. Oh man, Christian Bale. The cast is also really, really good. Like, the entire... Christopher Nolan, I think, really knows how to cast people. He does a fantastic job. Tom Hardy as Bane was perfect. Heath Ledger as the Joker, perfect. Anne Hathaway as Catwoman, also perfect. Wow, he's really good. Morgan Freeman, Lucius Fox, Michael Caine as Alfred, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is one of my favorite actors, man. He's so good. Dark Knight Trilogy is just one of my favorite trilogies of all time, right up there with Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, and I think these are my favorite comic book films. My opinion could change when I get older, maybe thinking about it really deeply, but for now, it's my favorite comic book trilogy, and The Dark Knight is my favorite comic book movie. There it is, that's my list. What do you guys think? What's your favorite comic book movie, and what's your least favorite? Leave it in the comments below. Also, leave some questions for my 300 subscribers Q&A video that will come out next week. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.